Hello and welcome to Agents of Nonprofit. My name is Alexander Lapa, and I'm here to speak with everyday superheroes helping nonprofits using technology. Today's a special episode in that I'm interviewing my nephew, Samuel Cote Lapa, to talk about what is a CRM, and for basically the premise is for me to explain to a 13-year-old what is a CRM. Samuel, welcome to the show.
Hello.
All right. I'm usually asked at this point for my guests to introduce themselves, just to talk a bit about who you are and what you do. Can you just explain to our audience, what is it that you do? I guess you're in school now?
Yeah, I'm in secondary 2.
That's
And
grade 7, right?
grade 8.
8.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, what do you do for fun?
I play video games, I read books, and I hang out with friends.
So the way that I thought we could approach this topic was actually to explain to you what is a CRM by using video games. But before I begin, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions just to make sure I understand, what you know and what you don't know. Do you even know what a CRM is?
No.
Have you ever heard of that word before, CRM?
Nope.
Okay. And then when I say a nonprofit organization, what do you mean? What do you hear? What do you understand when I say a nonprofit organization?
I think it's something like an organization that is working, or like people are working for, like without money, like just to help.
Volunteering.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Okay. So you think that the people working there are not getting paid?
Well, not that, but they, well, sort of.
Okay. So let's start with that then. A nonprofit organization is an organization that does make money, and they receive money multiple ways. Sometimes it can be through donations. Sometimes it can be through government grants, which are basically is money that's given by the government to help. And the reason they do that is because the nonprofit has a mission, it could be a social mission or a personal mission to help the community. So people are interested in helping nonprofits in various ways. And like I said, donations is one of them. But what happens is, even though they receive money, they have to basically spend all the money that they receive. So instead of a for-profit company, which their goal is to make as much money as possible, the nonprofit is about spending the money they get on these kinds of missions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. It also means that the focus of the company, of this organization, is on how can we improve the community best, as opposed to the corporations, the for-profit corporations, which focuses on how much can I make the most amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I'm going to explain what a CRM is I'm going to use your gaming reference. So imagine it's a clan versus clan battle, right? Team versus team. And you have a whole bunch of guys on your team. Let's say you got 8 players on your team, and you're fighting against other teams that also have 8 players. And you want to be able to, your team wants to be able to keep track of the skill level and the abilities of your opponents. So let's say you're the red team, the enemy is the blue team. And you're going to have a competition, let's say in a week. It might be to your interest to find out who are those 8 blue team members, who are the members on that team, and what are they good at? Is one guy great as a sniper? Is one guy good as a short shooter? Maybe one guy is good as a thief or someone who can hide themselves. You want to basically capture information and details about each of these players as a team so that because your team can have an advantage. So far, so good?
Yeah.
So the CRM is basically the tool that you would use to capture this information. You would say, okay, person A on team blue, they're good at, let's say, a sniper. And you might list a couple of the things that they have. You might list, the things that they're good at, the things that they're bad at, maybe strategies of how to defeat that particular player. And then you would go through all the other players in the same kind of way. So the CRM is a system that allows you to track this information so that all the people on your team can see all the information about the other team.
Yeah.
Okay. Now imagine instead of just one team, a blue team, imagine you've got dozens of teams. And those dozens of teams, the way they are represented in a CRM is through a contact. It's basically a record that says, here are the people that we want to track and keep information about and learn about when we want to We want to learn more about them and what they do.
All right.
And then let's say, for example, you have events, right? There's going to be a big competition in a few weeks from now. And you want to track when that competition is. You want to track who's going to come to that event. You want to sell tickets. You also want to accept people who are paying for the tickets. So you have to accept money. And maybe when you have some kind of auction while you're there, let's say one of your team members is very, very popular and they want to auction off their mouse, their mouse, because it's their gaming mouse and it's well known in the gaming world. So you will have these campaigns, they're called, in the CRM world, which basically says this is a campaign of type event, and have the whole community, everybody who's into gaming, come to this event where you're able to talk to the various people, to do these auctions, to collect money, and all of that also can be stored in a CRM.
Mm-hmm.
And then you might have sponsors, right? People who want to give you money because your team is amazing. They want to promote you and make sure that you've got the best equipment, the best headset, the best chairs, right? The best mouse, gaming mice. So there are basically people who come in who want to give you donations and give you money to become the best that you are. And those are donations. Those are also tracked in the CRM as kind of donations from your donors. And you could have people who give you just a small bit of money, maybe not even enough to buy a gaming mouse pad, but you might have some major donors, some people who give you enough that you can buy your own office where your team can hang out in various locations and play from there. So you'll have different kinds of people giving you different amounts of money to be able to allow you to do what you do. Also stored in the CRM.
Okay.
Any questions so far?
No.
Of course, all of this is stored in the cloud, right? There's nothing that's going to be on a computer and only on your computer, on your home computer. And I'm curious to know, actually, from a 13-year-old's perspective, is everything in the cloud for you? Like, have you grown up in a generation where everything you do is in the cloud, or do you have a concept or know of things that are not in the cloud?
So I've always been in the cloud since I think I was born and with technology, but I know that there was stuff without the cloud.
Do you know what it's called?
That I'm not sure.
Okay. So it's called on-premise. On-premise means it's on your premise, it's at your location. You're either using a technology like a CRM, which is usually at this point in the cloud, but at one point, and there are certain CRMs that are not in the cloud, and those are considered to be on-premise. And all that really means is that, well, actually, let me ask you, what does in the cloud mean to you?
It means that all your data is stored somewhere in the cloud, which is a whole build of different saves and everything that you can import and export data.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would use something very similar. It's basically a network that's outside of your own network. Someone else, not you, not your house, for example, or not your team, but it's another organization that has a whole bunch of data servers, big computers that are all linked together, networked together, and you're basically using their information, but you don't really know or care. I guess you do care, but you don't really know whose you're using, or sometimes you don't know whose you're using, because there are various types of clouds, like Amazon has their cloud, Microsoft has their cloud. So you might be using products on a cloud, but you might not care about or know about which cloud you're using. You're just using an application, and you can use it from anywhere where you are. I mean, you can use it from your home, you can use it from your school, you can use it when you're on vacation. You're accessing this information from wherever you are. And that's what is so attractive about being in the cloud, is that it doesn't require you, you could use any computer. You don't need to bring your own computer even, right? You could use anybody's computer as long as they have an internet connection. You can connect to your information in the cloud. And the opposite of that, the on-premise, means you have to bring your own stuff with you. You have to bring your own servers, your own hardware, your own hard drives. Like your dad, for example, has a backup system, right? And it's in the closet behind you. That's like a local cloud. It's an on-premise situation. He set it up so that you can access information from when you're on vacation, but imagine it's not connected to the internet. That means it would be really on-premise, and you would only be able to access it when you're at home and nowhere else. That's the opposite of the cloud. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the CRM that I use, that I find myself most working on, is in the cloud. And they were actually one of the first CRMs ever to be in the cloud. So if you roll back the time like 20 years ago, and actually probably more than that now, in the 90s even, everything was on-premise. Whenever any kind of organization used a CRM, they would always be on-premise. The whole concept of the cloud was still, I mean, the internet existed, but it was still very young. And Salesforce was the first cloud-based CRM. So they had a lot of education to do, a lot of training to do, because imagine all you know is the cloud. So imagine I had to train you on, no, the cloud is not what you want to be. You want to be on-premise. Of course, what I'm talking about is the opposite, but imagine you have to change the way you think to understand that the way things have been done isn't the best way, that there is a better way of doing things, and that is in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun. That was probably a very interesting challenge that they had. And of course, since then, I'm not saying they were the very first. Well, they were the very first CRM in the cloud. There were other apps that started to be in the cloud, but they were the ones that really made cloud popular. And I mean, today, I mean, as you know, everything's in the cloud. So they were pioneers.
Yeah.
So I'm curious then. So, and I actually never even told you, but do you even know what CRM stands for?
No.
It stands for Client Relationship Management. So if I were to put it back to the gaming context, it would be your opponent management system. You're basically tracking all the information about your opponents. And it's basically, it's not just the opponents themselves, but also the relationships that they have with each other and the relationships that you have with them. So you will say, for example, when you're adding one of your enemies into the CRM, you would basically, create a contact. You would say their name, maybe their, first name, real last name, their alias, the team that they're on, the categories of avatars that they are, or opponents that they are. If they're a sniper, for example, you could categorize them as a sniper. And then you could list a whole bunch of notes about this individual, what they're good at, what they're bad at. If you reach out to them, or the last time you played with them, how good they were, all of the stuff is in that CRM. So far, so good?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know then, everything that I've told you, what would you see as, do you see a CRM being a good thing? And if so, why?
Yes, I do think it's a good thing because you can learn the different steps and remember them and make the company or anything just bigger.
Mm-hmm. Could you see, because I know you're also in a gaming clan, right? I believe it's cool.
Yeah.
What's the game that you play?
I play Valorant and Overwatch 2.
So Overwatch, that's the one that I played with you as well. So imagine you had a team, or you do have a team of Overwatch players. Could you imagine a reason why your team would use a CRM?
To remember like the different abilities and skill move and skill set from the opponents.
Hmm? Any problems with it? Any kind of challenges or anything that you would need to think about, concerns you would have about using this kind of system, the CRM?
It might fail, and then you could lose a lot of things that you've tried to progress and keep during all this time. So you have to somewhat restart from almost the beginning and try to get back up to where you were.
Yeah, so you're right. Backups are become important because usually things are backed up when they're in the cloud, and you have to always double check to see if that's true. But you're right. One of the features that most nonprofits need to keep track of is that, do they need to have some kind of backup plan, which means in case the cloud blows up, that they do have some kind of backup system so they don't lose everything and have to start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Any other challenges you might think of?
Mm.
What happens if a particular player doesn't want to use it, the system? They don't want to use it. They said, I don't need it. I'm fine without it. What would you say to your own team player if they said that to you?
So still use it because we don't know when we would need it.
Okay, but let's say, so you've got 8 team players, let's say on your team, you're the captain, and the only one of them says, I don't want to use it. I'm happy without it. You guys can use it. I don't want to use it. What would you say to that person?
I don't know.
Do you understand why he would not want to use it?
No.
Let's say he has his own notepad on his computer that he tracks his own notes, and he wants to keep his notes private. He doesn't want to share his notes, and he doesn't want to learn a new system. He's happy with his notes. He doesn't want to have to learn what a CRM is and how to use the CRM. He just focused on his notes.
Well, maybe it's because, well, I think I would say, I don't know.
It's actually a tough question to ask because that is one of the most difficult or the biggest problems that people like I have when dealing with nonprofits is that there are some people who don't want to use the new system. They don't see the advantages or they don't understand the advantages and the benefits that a CRM can give them. And they're used to doing things a certain way and they just don't want to change or they're resistant to change. And part of what I do as someone who's building the CRM for them is to teach them saying, look, I understand you have doubts and reservations and concerns about using this new system because some people just have a hard time with change. And part of me is to educate them, to show them the benefits of it. And that, yes, it is a bit awkward to use at the beginning because it's a new way of doing things, right? It's a new app that they have to learn. But there are more advantages to disadvantages to using it. The short term will be pain, but the long term will be a lot of benefits. Make sense?
Yeah.
What other questions would you have or anything that comes to mind when we talk?
Are there certain big companies that use it?
Mm-hmm. So Salesforce is, like I said, Salesforce is a company that builds a type of CRM, right? There are many, CRM is a category of applications. It's like a mail system, right? You can have Gmail, you can have Yahoo, you can have Hotmail. Those are all email systems, right? So a CRM is a category as well. And Salesforce is the particular one that I use, but there are other types of CRMs as well. Salesforce is a good fit for a lot of companies. It's very a good fit for nonprofits of certain sizes, but it's also can be used by for for-profit companies. I have just decided in my own career to focus on nonprofits. But yeah, right, it can be used by any company. Let's say, I would say almost any company. I can't imagine a company that wouldn't want to have a CRM to track something in their system. If you're selling something, if it's an app or a service, having a CRM with your customers, actually, I don't know if I can say there's any company out there that wouldn't benefit from a CRM, but let's pretend that there is, but I can't imagine that there is. So you're right. Anyone, any organization, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit company, can use a CRM. Salesforce has a specific type of features in that CRM space that are good for some companies or better suited for some companies and nonprofits than others. So there are some moments in time when the customer, the organization might want to use Salesforce, but there might be other times when Salesforce isn't the best fit and they want to use another type of CRM. Just like you have more than one choice for which email to use. Some people like Gmail more than Hotmail. Some people prefer Yahoo more than anything else. You have to pick the application that you like as an organization most of all that fits what you're trying to achieve. And making sure, of course, that there's a price for it as well, because none of these things are free. You want to make sure that whatever price you're paying also fits with what you have in your pocket, your budget. So so the short answer is yes. I focused my particular career on nonprofits because I find it's a lot very enjoyable.
All right.
Anything else you can think of that you can add or questions or want to know something more about?
No. I think
Nope.
it's good.
It's good. You understand what a CRM is now?
Yep.
You can tell your friends?
Probably, yeah. If they would like to.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine a conversation between 13-year-olds talking about CRMs, but the idea here was just to, give you a bit of insight of what I do and why I do it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I want to just thank you for your time today. I hope it was interesting for you.
Yeah, well, thank you too to have explained to me what a CRM is.
All right, well, that's it for today. I'm Alexander Lapa, and I hope you join me again in the next Agents of Nonprofit.